Views expressed on this program are those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the station, its management, or advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
There are shows with psychics.
And there are shows with doctors.
But there's no show like The Psychic and the Doc.
Your practical paranormal power unleashed.
This show synthesizes the talents of world-class medium Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, psychic explorer,
and street-smart spiritualist, behavioral psychologist, Dr. Pat Basili. All subjects are on the table, and no topic is taboo. Inspiration, insight,
action, and fun as Mark Anthony connects callers with loved ones in spirit.
In tandem with Dr. Pat's fresh, no-nonsense, street-smart, intuitive insights. And she is hilarious.
Extraordinary problems
require extraordinary solutions, which may come from this side
or the other side. This is The Psychic
and the Doc. And it starts now. Welcome. I'm Mark Anthony, known as the Psychic Lawyer, also known as the Psychic Explorer. My co-host, Dr. Pat, is unavailable tonight, but we have two very special guests on this episode of Light the Night with the Phenomena of Hanukkah. Now, my name is Mark, and I'm a lawyer, but I'm not Jewish. However, two of my best friends are, and they're on the show. And I'd like to welcome Shirley Bolstok and Corey Kotler. Now, Shirley Bolstok is an energy healer, speaker, psychic medium, certified energetics practitioner. And Shirley is the author of the books Apples from the Tree of Life, Impassioned Soul, and Grapes from the Vines of Life. With a worldwide following, Shirley's been featured at many conferences, and I'd like to welcome you to the show, Shirley.
Hey, Mark, it's all right. It's all right. You know, we can make you honorarily Jewish tonight.
Oh, okay. I'll be an official member of the tribe tonight, and I'd also like to introduce my friend Corey Kotler, a native New Yorker, actor, comedian. Now, Corey has appeared in dozens of movies, commercials, TV shows. He's been on Heroes, Ugly Betty, ER, Nip Tuck, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Rizzoli, and Jimmy Kimmel Live. And I understand you've even done your shtick on The Tonight Show. And Corey was recently featured in Taylor Swift's Wildest Dreams video. Welcome to the Psychic and the Doc, Corey.
Mark, anytime I see you, it's a pleasure. It's a day in the sunshine. What can I say?
Well, thank you. So tonight or today, I'm on East Coast, so it's already nighttime here, but this starts the 8-day festival of Hanukkah. And if you bear with me for a minute, part of my brand is I'm known as the Psychic Explorer. So I've spent a lot of my life examining mystical phenomenon. And Hanukkah is really a fascinating event in Jewish history. It's not a biblical holiday like Passover because it occurred about 2 centuries BC. And what was going on in the Middle East, Syria was under the control of a Greek dynasty, which was left over from Alexander the Great's conquest 2 centuries before. And Syria was controlling what is now Israel, the kingdoms of Judea and the kingdom of Israel. And the tyrant, Antiochus IV, decided that the Jews must now worship the Greek gods. So Antiochus IV ordered the great temple in Jerusalem, the Temple of Solomon, to be converted into a temple with a statue of Zeus. Well, this was blasphemy for the Jewish people, and they fought back. And to crush the revolt, Antiochus IV sent an army of 60,000 men to crush the revolt. Well, the Jews rallied under Judah Maccabee, and 3,000 Jewish soldiers defeated the Syrian Greek army of 60,000 men. Now, that in and of itself is a miracle, and it's one of the great mysteries in military history. How did 3 guerrilla fighters defeat an army 20 times its size? So when the Jewish people retook the Temple of Solomon, they removed the statue of Zeus, they purified the temple, and they lit their menorah. But they only had enough olive oil to light the menorah for 1 day, yet it burned for 8. And that's why Hanukkah is 8 days. So it's known as the miracle of the oil. But, as a military historian, I'm like, hey, the Israeli army's good. Not just now, but apparently back then too. So I have to start off with Shirley. Let me ask you. Now, I understand that your parents were Holocaust survivors.
That is correct. They were Polish Jews. My mother was from Lodz, and my father was from Bolstok. My parents actually met in the liberation afterwards, but this has been an incredible, great influence on my life. I mean, you really look at things very differently in your world when you're born into a legacy like that. Both of my parents are amazingly courageous, strong, and even as a child, just to figure what it took for them to survive, make it through. And of course, I lost grandparents and many family members. But they, I think they very much exhibited the kind of determination that kept that oil going for 8 days.
Wow. And Shirley, would you say that that the experience that your parents went through, now obviously you're a psychic medium and we're colleagues and we've worked together before, but would you say that the background, the pain and suffering, the oppression that your parents went through, has it in any way impacted your sense of spirituality and your approach to mysticism?
Oh, it completely did. It completely did. Because let me tell you something. Our ancestors has a lot to do with how we live our lives today. We're often living the patterns of our ancestors. We can take on patterns emotionally. You can take on patterns physically. And we don't even realize that because, whatever has consciousness has life force. And, so something, even a decision in the ancestry 5,000 years ago can affect us. So the Holocaust had a great impact. And the main thing that was so important is not to hang on the drama and the pain, but to bring out what was learned and how to respect each other. I had a very strong civil rights attitude after that. But spiritually, it's because I could all see us as living spiritual beings, each one of us divine, and all part of the God I am. And I think that it had a definite influence on really looking at us as humankind. So if we're talking about light, that's a great thing to celebrate.
Corey, you're one of the funniest people I've ever met. Okay, and we've been at so many events in LA together, and we've been on red carpet events, and you're cracking you're cracking everybody up, and I understand that you also have a deep faith, and you've also studied Jewish mysticism and the Kabbalah. But before we get into that, I heard that you once bamboozled, for lack of a better term, Howard Stern by pretending that you were a Hasidic rabbi. You got to tell us this one, Corey.
Well, that was my very, 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 when I was a boy, that was my very first time ever on television back in 1991. Not that I even realized that I'm that old. Can you see it? Because I can't see it.
Yeah, we can
see it. We can see it. Yeah, just speak up a bit, please.
All right. Yeah, that was the very first time I was ever on television, ever. And back then, that was before there was an internet and before, it was about 1991. So what had happened was we were listening to Howard Stern on WWOR on the radio. And I would notice that it's a long story, but long and short of it is I noticed that when he had guests on and he would argue with them, he'd lower their volume so he could talk over them. And I said I could get over on him. So a buddy of mine was a makeup person who eventually, in high school, and he eventually went on to be the makeup person for SNL and Broadway. Then I had another buddy of mine that went to Yale, and he had a computer back then when people didn't have computers. So he made me up a letterhead, and we said that I was this rabbi that did this unique act long and short of it is I was the stripping rabbi. And the reason I was the
Wait, well, hold on. Were you dressed up? How are you dressed?
Like a Hasidic. Oh, okay, let me backtrack. I was at Dangerfield with Rodney Dangerfield, his nightclub.
Right, speak up just a little bit more.
61st. What?
A little bit louder, Corey. I need to hear you, right. Corey. Come on.
Can you hear me better now or no?
Much better. Yes, sir. All right. So
right.
There you are in New York.
Yeah. So I was at Dangerfield's Comedy Club. Back then, Rodney Dangerfield, I'll tell you, he had a comedy club. And they put me on really, really late, like 2 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. Death. So right next door to Dangerfield was Chippendales. And somehow I got booked to open at Chippendales. And Chippendales, the women didn't want to see me. They wanted to see like dudes with pecs and stuff. So I didn't do so well that night at Chippendales. So the next night I said, I'm not going to go out in dishonor. So I dressed up like a Hasidic rabbi with a ghetto blaster on my shoulder, and I became the stripping rabbi. And I stripped down to nipple tassels and, the curls, the rabbinical curls.
Yes.
My silver lame. Yeah. So anyway, long and short of it is I wrote this letter to Howard Stern from a fictitious agent that didn't exist on fictitious letterhead saying that I represented this Orthodox Hasidic rabbi. Cut to the Crown Heights riots broke out, and he brought me on the show to play Crown Heights Jeopardy, and they interviewed me before to make sure I was a real rabbi, and they actually picked me up in Brooklyn. The stretch limo picked me up in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and I was dressed up in full rabbi makeup with the real rabbis, and they wouldn't have taken too kindly if they knew that I was like a faker. So I did it. I pulled it off, and that was it. And then to keep the illusion going, just because it was so much fun, I had a letterhead made up from the desk of Rabbi Chaim Goldwasser, and I mailed it to my friend in Israel, and I had him mail it to Howard Stern, so it was stamped from Israel.
Well, there you go.
And it was basically...
Well, thank you, Corey. All right, your video went out, so I'll give you a second to adjust that. So, Shirley, in your family, did you guys celebrate Hanukkah? What was that like?
We did, and I do want to tell a little story when you asked about if my abilities or something has something to do with what happened in the Holocaust. My mother lost her mother at a very young age, and she was in a line where she could have lost her life, and she felt the presence of her mother telling her to move and change lines, and she did, and it saved her life. So I thought that was very interesting. That I would have to bet that my parents, being psychic on their own, helped with their survival. So that was just kind of a neat thing that I just kind of wanted to add. So yes, we celebrated Hanukkah, and of course we lit the lights, every night. And we, sang songs, and we would go over to friends' houses and have great meals and sing songs. And it was always a very special event in the household, And of course, you learn a lot, about your heritage and the lights. Yeah. If there's anything important that I've really learned, Mark, is don't use a wooden menorah.
Oh, Corey, you have to have something. All right, we lost Corey's video. Where's Corey?
I'm here.
Okay, we lost your video again.
Okay, hit it through video. Yeah. Hit the video.
You want me to hang up and call back?
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
Hit the
go
video.
ahead. Go ahead and do that. All right. So Shirley, did you actually ever use a wooden menorah?
Yes.
Okay, I got to hear this one. So what happened? I mean, we always hear about people like burning their Christmas trees down. I've never heard of anyone burning their menorah down.
Oh, yeah, this was funny. Okay, so first of all, of course in the house, we had to steal the regular real Israeli, menorahs and stuff. And of course, when I wanted to get on my own, I thought, oh, well, I'm going to get a menorah. And I'd like to have one that's easy to clean because, trying to get all that wax out of there, now they even have ones where you just turn on a switch of the light. Just not the same. I just can't imagine, you're so used to lighting the light, and if you just hit a switch, it's wrong. Anyway, so.
It's kind of miraculous.
Yeah. You have to have good batteries. So anyway, so I went and bought this wooden menorah, and I don't think it really occurred to me, except maybe I was supposed to put little steel things in them. I have no idea. So I stick my candles in, and I was bad because I go, oh my God, I've missed about a few days here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them all in. So I probably put 6 or 7 candles in, and I lit them and put it, and it didn't take long before I could have gotten the marshmallows. The whole thing was just going up. So yeah, that was a special evening of light. Considering I doused it with a bucket of
So Corey, I take it that your family also celebrated Hanukkah. You got to share what's your favorite Hanukkah story, or your funniest? Now we can see him, but we can't hear him. This is like the ghost of Hanukkah past.
Hold on, no. Now
there he is. All right, he's
now
on.
You can hear me, right?
We can hear you now.
All right.
Let's see.
All right. So straight up, I'm not gonna lie. My parents were very, very cheap. I'm just saying. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna mix words. It is what it is. There are certain stereotypes, but I'm just telling the truth. You have to respect the truth. So we had an attic, and every year they would put the toys back up in the attic, and then after we played with them for about a week, they'd put them back in the attic, and then every year they'd wrap up the toys and give us the same toys again until we realized, wait a minute, I had this Aurora racetrack. And this Light Bright and this Hang on Harvey for the last 6 years. But we had a Hanukkah bush, which had absolutely no religious significance whatsoever. Then eventually I went to Hebrew school, and I learned that was some kind of pagan something. It is what it is.
Well, it's funny because I've got a number of Jewish friends, and some of them, they would never have a Hanukkah bush, and I have other ones that do because it's pretty. So I guess your parents are like, hey, it's pretty, and it's funny too because most of the symbols of Christmas have pagan origins. And the Christmas tree is no exception. Have you ever been driving through a neighborhood and seen any buildings under construction, and you'll see a tree at the top? Did you ever see, a lot of carpenters, they'll put a tree branch on top of a building under construction. Look around next time you do that. That's an ancient Viking ceremony called the topping out ceremony. And carpenters, a lot of them, when they came over from Europe, a lot of the Scandinavians, they felt that they had to honor the spirits of the trees that gave their lives to create this building, and that by honoring the spirits, it will bring good fortune, good luck, good health to the inhabitants of this building. And they tend to be evergreens because evergreens would withstand the winter, and the evergreens were also exchanged by the Greeks and Romans on the festival of Sol Invictus, which was December 25th, because evergreens never die. It was a symbol of eternal life. So we bring these symbols into our house, and we don't realize that they're ancient Greek, Roman, and Viking symbols. So so it's funny when I hear my Jewish friends say that, yeah, we had a Hanukkah bush. So what kind of ornaments do you put on a Hanukkah bush?
Well, before I answer the question, I just got to tell you publicly, I loved your book. Your book was such a ride. It's I have to read your book a couple of times because it's way too intellectual. It's way too deep for me to get the first time. I don't claim to be that smart. All right? So it just took a little time for me to digest about your aunt and all the different stuff. It was great. It was quite a ride. I mean, sir, I'm not a reader, but that was really all that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, we're going to talk about Shirley's books in the next segment, because I know we're coming up on a break in a few minutes. But Shirley, let's talk about one of your books. Now, you've got 3 of them out. Let me see. You've got Apples from the Tree of Life, Impassioned Soul, and Grapes from the Vines of Life. Now, I understand that Apples from the Tree of Life, that's a book of poetry, isn't it?
Impassioned Soul is the book of poetry.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Go ahead.
It's different fruit here. And Apples from the Tree of Life and Grapes from the Vines of Life are all my original quotes.
Oh, wow. Could you share, do you have a quote about Hanukkah or something about the light that you could share with us before we go to break?
Well, I do have some pretty neat quotes that could... at least they pertain to the light. And in Impassioned Soul, I do have a poem called Survivor's Child that kind of talks about my sentiments, my thoughts of being a child of Holocaust survivors. And so I've had a lot of judges and a lot of people carry that poem in their purse. I thought that was, or wallet. So I was always the greatest compliment. So let's look, let me look at Apples from the Trees of Life. And let's see if we could... in absolute obscurity lies the recognition of light when revealed. In love, let the heart persuade more than persuasion itself. Even the most brilliant defense cannot stand up to the truth of the heart. Within the veins of the rose petal lies the map to God's universe. And the glory of clouds is found in the rain. The glory of rain is found in the sea. And even the deepest ocean leads to the heavens.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Shirley. Go ahead, Corey.
I could never write anything that profound. My jaw's on the floor. I mean, that was like verbally, that was like the Playboy Mansion. It was just like, I can't do anything like that. That was like...
Well, Corey, I love your gift of taking something spiritual and somehow turning it into, the profane. But it was a compliment and sacrilegious at the same time. No, but Corey, let me ask you a question before we go to break. Okay. Now, it's no secret that a lot of comedians like yourself are Jewish. Why do you think that is?
Seriously? And I think Shirley can relate to this.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Mel Brooks is, without a shadow of a doubt, my favorite comedian because, as a Jew, the Holocaust was just so unconscionably rancid. And when you were a little kid, I don't know, I'm sure because your parents were Holocaust survivors, but when they laid that on me, like, I did not know what was behind curtain number 3. And it was like, I was too little, and no one gave me a heads up. And the next thing I know, I'm watching these videos, and like, so it was just so traumatic. That's either I laugh at it because it's just too unconscionable to wrap your brain around, or you just, I don't know. It's like the only way that I could cope with it is to, like, springtime for Hitler in Germany. It's like,
yeah, it's a way to deal with pain and grief and oppression is through humor.
Yes,
and
yeah. Okay, I don't know how. Like, I had a relative that was in there and she was like, I was in there from January 14th to the 1939 and all these years. And I'm like, I couldn't live in there for like 5 minutes. And I don't know how they did it. And I will tell you this. You being a psychic medium and Shirley, you being a child of the ashes as you're referred to.
Yes.
I have a rabbi friend of mine, very close friend, who comes from about 12 or 14 generations of Kabbalistic rabbis. And he explained to me, he said, rabbis can give you blessings from here to doomsday, but the only people whose blessings really, really have a holy significance are Holocaust survivors, because their neshama which is the soul, they're survivors, and the fact that they survived on Earth gives them a special metaphysical power to all that.
Well,
I just want to throw that out there.
Corey,
Well
I want to thank you, and we're coming up on a break, and we'll hold it right there, because when we come back, we've got Mike from Virginia on the line, so we'll be taking his call. Then we're going to get back to more with Shirley Bolstok and comedian and actor Corey Kotler. I'm Mark Anthony, and you're listening to The Psychic and the Doc.
Your favorite Transformation Talk radio shows are now on Spotify.
What?
Simply search out your favorite host or show by name, tap the subscribe button, and boom. With over 150 million active monthly users on Spotify, Transformation Talk Radio is thrilled to expand our reach so you never have to miss an episode. Well, what the heck are you waiting for? Log into Spotify and subscribe now.
When was the last time you had that feeling that you knew something, but you couldn't explain how you knew it? How powerful would it be for your life and business if you could consciously tap into that magic within you? What if you could remember that there's something supernatural about you? Tune in to Absolute Alignment with Christelle Biga when success feels easy. Every first and third Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Are you one of the many women in the world who've carried the burdens of work and family with the added circumstance of the pandemic? You are not alone. Join Mary Rose Campbell with 5 other powerful women on Saturday, December 5th, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, for the International Conference on Resilience for Women, as they share what they've learned to create power for themselves under any circumstance. Get your tickets now at resilientwomensconference.com.
Tired of not losing the weight? You need a healthy solution for weight loss that protects your muscle mass as the fat burns away naturally. Holistic Medical Center has the healthy option for your weight loss concerns. Lose 1 to 3 pounds per day in 21 days, naturally, under our physician supervision. Call Holistic Medical Center 425-451-0404 or on the web, drdarvish.com, drdarvish.com.
Hi, I'm Laura Goldstein, and here's a Coffee with the Universe tip. Ever wonder why you want to go to the gym more, for example, but you just can't make it happen? You find yourself rearranging your underwear drawer instead of getting in the car. If this sounds like you, you might have caught a case of the shoulds. Maybe you think you should lose 20 pounds to fit back into your favorite pair of jeans, or that you should be healthier in general. It all sounds good, but deep down you just aren't into it. Truth is, making choices from shoulds just leads to guilt, resentment, and a whole lot of procrastination. So take a good look at your goals. Are you shoulding yourself anywhere? If so, give yourself permission to let it go. For more insights like this, tune into my Transformation Talk radio show called Coffee with the Universe. It's a live call-in show. I'd love to support you.
Do you feel that you must stand alone in this life? Listen deeply, beloved soul. You are not alone. Laura Hosford offers you authentic channeled messages of love, inspiration, and heart-healing grace to guide you forward in transcending your consciousness and becoming the change you wish to see in the world. Want to get involved? Join the Get Your Goddess Groove On Facebook group and get some goddess energy in your life. Women supporting women, emotional and spiritual growth. What's not to love? Just search for Get Your Goddess Groove On Facebook and join Laura's growing community of women who are finding that divine love has lived within them all along. Share your stories, your challenges, offer your insights, celebrate spiritual growth. Join the Get Your Goddess Groove On Facebook group today.
Welcome. We're back from break. I'm Mark Anthony. You're on listening to The Psychic and the Doc. And during the break, Corey Kotler and Shirley Bolstok and I were talking about the mysticism and the light, the celebration of light that is Hanukkah. And Corey, you had a very interesting question, so go ahead and put that out there.
My dear friend and spiritual advisor, Rabbi Ari Mandel, comes from many generations of Kabbalistic rabbis, back maybe 14 generations. And he told me that no matter how holy or how pious a rabbi or a clergyman or a holy man from whatever ethnicity it may be, he said how can I put it? The only true, not the only true, but as we say in Jewish, and forgive me for throwing in little Yiddish, which is why Seth Rogen hired me.
It's Hanukkah. Throw all the Yiddish in you want tonight.
the emes, which means the real deal,
right?
Of blessings are guaranteed from Holocaust survivors because their souls somehow made it out of hell, out of there. So they have a special soul, and because they have that special spiritual connection, they have the ability to bless you, whether they're religious or agnostic.
Shirley, what's your take on that?
No, I love what he said, and it makes absolute and complete sense. I always sensed something very, very different around me. Of course, at about 6 years old, I could see spirits, I could hear things, but I was seeing things that were, some of them were a little edgy, and some of them, were definitely spirits. But what I understood was when you have to have this heightened ability for survival, then of course your psychic and your metaphysical instincts start to come in automatically. It's like that muscle, you start developing it, and it gets stronger and stronger. And I do agree that there is grace for those who were in the Holocaust, and I call it grace because they endured in a consciousness and changed even a consciousness by surviving and not allowing the genocide, that they became very, very powerful people. And there's also something very interesting. There's something, of course, I found it in Children of Abraham, that there's an actual scientific thing about the IQ of Jewish people. Now, if you have a lot of them, well, they did inbreed. There was a lot of interbreeding back in the past.
Like my case.
No, that's okay. And by the way, Mark, I have my jar chutzpah.
Okay, for the non-Jewish listeners, chutzpah. How would you define that?
Oh, it's like having nerve or balls or something like that.
Yeah.
But we can fill this jar tonight. I think we could have a lot of good fun. But basically, what happens. So, of course, with the inbreeding, I explained a few things. What happens is, of course, unfortunately, some recessive genes, those kind of things kind of happen, And so if you have two parents where one has a recessive gene and one doesn't, it actually stimulates something in the brain. And it actually creates more and they say that the average IQ of a lot of Jewish people is about 123 because of that. But it would not surprise me if a lot of that inbreeding actually enhanced a lot of psychic ability. Because if you've got, the brain and the pineal gland being stimulated, I could see where that could enhance a lot of, metaphysical ability, the instincts, the awareness of energy could be greatly heightened. And of course, I've been able to sense both my parents. My father, when he almost died once, his mother pushed him back and said to him in Yiddish, "It's not your time yet." And she pushed him back into his body. It was very interesting. So, yes, I think that Jewish people do tend to be very closely connected into metaphysical awareness. It becomes part of our makeup.
So, Corey, when you're not running around New York disguised as a Hasidic rabbi, I do know that you're a man of great and very deep faith, and that you've studied the Kabbalah. Now, the Kabbalah is the very mystical and esoteric aspects of Judaism. So how did you get interested, Corey, in the Kabbalah?
I'll tell you the truth. I like to sift through the BS, and that's one of the things that I love about you, Mark. I'm just going to go off on a tangent real quick about why I love Mark and why he's the real deal. The first time I met, real quick, and I'll speak quickly. First time I met Mark, I didn't know you. And we were pulling up to the movie studio where we were supposed to have lunch that day. And There was some guy getting into a parking spot, and all of a sudden I see what looked like some guy from The Sopranos. Oh, what are you doing? And I was like, wow, okay, the fight's going to break out. You know? And then like 2 minutes later, when I sit down for lunch, I'd like you to meet Mark Anthony. He's the son.
Well, I remember that. Hey, that guy was calling me every name in the book, and I'm Italian. You know, you don't do that.
I was expecting like a guy with a wizard hat and like a long beard, like Gandalf. You know, not Vinny Boombox.
That's his other alternative life.
You know, it's funny, you know, because, you know, we're talking, and you were talking about, you know, Jewish stereotypes and Italian stereotypes. You know, we all got the Tony Soprano gene, you know. And I think that's just something that comes with every ethnic group. But people stereotype psychic mediums. They all expect us to be these, you know, mystics sitting on the top of a mountain. And the thing is, anyone can be enlightened sitting on the top of a mountain. It's when you're stuck in traffic in LA or you're, you know, in a job, in an office that you just, it's just drudgery. It's when you're having problems with finances or children. And right now, what everyone's going through with COVID-19, this is the real challenge to be spiritual. And that's when it is important that we draw upon our faith backgrounds. Because, you know, we're talking about Hanukkah, a celebration of light. There was no way that menorah almost 2,500 years ago should have lit the darkness for 8 days in a row. It should have fizzled out after one day. And that, I believe, in many ways was symbolic. I mean, you had an oppressive tyrant who couldn't accept defeat or cope with reality and was trying to enforce and impose his religion and his ideas on a group of people who fought desperately. So Hanukkah is very symbolic about the triumph of the light over the darkness. And right now, what we're going through in this country, I mean, as of today, over 270,000 people have died from this. And Corey, you brought up something very interesting earlier, and Shirley, certainly in the discussion you had about your parents. We may not be, and thank God for that, we may not be rounded up and being put in concentration camps, but this is our generation's great challenge, this COVID crisis. And let me ask both of you, do you feel that, I'll start with you, Corey, then we'll go to Shirley. Do you feel that your faith, your Jewish faith and connection with mysticism has helped you endure this the stress and the angst from COVID?
1,000%. What I'm going to say is, you know how, well, I keep looking back at the survivors, and I'm like, if they could survive that, then we really have to not be Karens, and it's like wear our big boy pants and say, okay, well, this is going down now, and let's get out of it. But once again, if we're going to, I'm just going to make a reference to the Tehillim, which is the Psalms of David, and you have to have faith, and you have to just understand that we're on this astral plane, if you will. I'm not the medium, you guys are. I'm just a fool. But the point is, we're here right now, and we have to just appreciate what we have and understand that and we're just a small wheel in the big scheme of things, and it's not all about us, and we just have to just play nice in the sandbox, because as you folks know, there are so many higher spiritual levels And once again, Jewish people believe that it's all about the elevation of the neshama, the soul. Yes. So just keep things in perspective is all I'm saying.
Shirley, what's your take? Has your mysticism and your Jewish faith helped you cope with what's going on now in the COVID-19 world?
You know, there's a Kabbalic principle that says tension causes growth. And that's actually the secret of Genesis. You know, that's actually the centrality of Genesis. This is why you have a planet. This is why you have trees, flowers. This is why we have children. This is what we learn from. And intention causing growth, but it is very, very important to understand that we cannot shut off a voice that doesn't agree with us. Nor should we be asked to compromise everything we believe or think about to accept a totally different ideology, like what you said happened when they wanted them to worship Zeus. So I think what we learn is we have to learn for our survival that we must hang on to our divine will, our free will, and our understanding of what free will is. And it seems like we have paid many civilizations have paid a price, and we cannot blame a race and a religion or dump everything we feel is wrong in the world on a leader, on politics, on religion, on the race, on a way of thinking, and feel that if we get rid of this particular component, then everything's going to come in a balance. So you learn from the tree of life that they have an emotion. You know, you learn from the tree of life that everything symbolizes an emotion, and in that emotion it has life force itself, and it has a lot of great knowledge in each and everything. And I think instead of blaming each other, what we should definitely learn, which we as survivors have learned, is you look for your divinity and you respect others' divinity. And I think therein lies a very important answer to handling these kind of times today.
Shirley, do you have another inspirational quote from either your book, Apples from the Tree of Life, or Grapes from the Vines of Life, that would be appropriate for Hanukkah?
I kind of like this. And I think I could go with Hanukkah. Belief relies on created laws. Created laws rely on choice. Choice relies on manifestation. You may adhere to a created law in your agreements in life, but give your loyalty to the power of creation itself, for gold is creation. So to me, gold is the golden lights of Hanukkah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And Shirley, where can people find your books?
Amazon has it. Cyberwit.net carries them. And, of course, Amazon does have them, and you can see my 3 books there.
And you're Shirley Bolstok, B-O-L-S-T-O-K, Shirley Bolstok. And I understand that you have an event coming up on the winter solstice. Now, this one's a biggie, okay? The winter solstice, there's 4 points throughout the year that are of there's many points throughout the year that are astrologically significant, but the solstice, the winter solstice, is the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, longest day of the year in the southern hemisphere, and that's the official beginning of winter. And this year, Jupiter and Saturn, as we perceive them, will be closer than they have been since 1623. And so there's quite the astrological significance. And I understand, Shirley, that you have something coming up on 12/21 of 2020. Could you tell us what that is?
Well, I'm doing an event with Susan Russo that night, and you can find this on Vibing with Susan and vibingwithsusan.com, and you can find the event there. And I do DNA activations, which is another thing I'm known for, which also works with clearing consciousness and clearing the stories that we're living in and bringing in a whole new creation into our divine understanding of ourselves. Now, this is not only significant with Saturn and Jupiter because Jupiter symbolizes hope, but Saturn's is the getting rid of trauma, bringing in new overlays on a complete different system of living. Now, my understanding, Mark, is that we thought that 12/21 was the end of the Mayan calendar, but many are saying it's actually that in 2012 it was the end of the Mayan calendar, but many are saying that it's really this time.
This one.
Yeah, so we're doing activations, we're doing codes, we're doing meeting, we're doing it all to bring in the new shift.
Yeah, I study archaeology, and when I saw this alignment with 12/21, and I remember it was 12/21 of 2012, and people were going crazy. Oh, it's the end of the world. No, it wasn't the end of the world. It was the shift of the Mayan calendar to a new age, another age. The Mayan calendar runs in 5,000-year cycles, and I spent some time at some archaeological sites in Central America, and the Mayans' understanding of astrology and astronomy was so accurate and so impressive. So it very well could be 12/21 of 2020 because there's a much more significant astrological event going on, which is this conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. So Corey, what do you got going on? I know you're always busy. You're always on TV. What's your next big gig coming up?
Well, I'm actually acting and co-producing a movie starring Mickey Rourke.
Wow.
Can I rewind for a second?
Absolutely.
Also, I'm in Seth Rogen's American Pickle on HBO Max, and I'm speaking Yiddish in that. I got hired to do Yiddish ADR because nobody else in Hollywood knows any Yiddish, I guess.
Hey, that'll work.
So
Mazel tov.
You asked me about the Kabbalah. You asked me about the Kabbalah before, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Remember when I was having breakfast at our manager's house, and I called you? I called you and I said, you'll never believe what happened, because Steve was asking me about the Kabbalah, and I really, just kind of didn't get into great detail. And then an hour later, I'm walking past the dumpster, and something said, look in the dumpster, and I found all the volumes of the Zohar in that dumpster.
Wow.
Remember I called you and asked you?
Yes.
And also, I just wanted to turn you on to one thing real quick. This is a Malach Yisroel. And what a Malach Yisroel is this little tiny book. And supposedly, according to my rabbi friend, it is the condensed, boiled down Zohar.
Wow. So
and
sort of like
so tiny, you can't
the
read
Cliff
it.
Notes version.
I said, why is it written so tiny? And his answer was because they don't want to make it easy for laymen to get a hold of to bastardize.
Well, there you go. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And so you are producing. Let's get back to what you're doing, and then we'll get back to that.
Oh, and I have an out. Oh, you like this with the whole not shelter in place where you have to self-isolate. So yeah. March 18th is my birthday, and I was all by myself because I was in self-isolation with the whole coronavirus. So I decided that I was going to get out of it in a better position than I got into it. So once again, I was speaking to our manager, and we had this conversation. And I'm not a musician, and I never put anything on Spotify. And I decided to produce an album of 1 to 5 minute spooky short stories, which I dropped for Halloween, and it's on Spotify now. I make bad things happen. I'm the man that makes bad things happen, and it's blowing up on Spotify, and I'm getting paid from it. And you can listen to it for free. It's 11 short spooky stories called I Make Bad Things Happen. And the artist
and how do people find that? Do you have a website? How do people find that?
No, it's on Spotify for.
Okay, I make spooky things happen.
No, I make bad things happen.
You make bad things happen. Okay. Oh, well, that's cool. All right,
it's my homage to Vincent Price.
Oh, very good, very good. So,
what's that beautiful painting in the background? What's the deal with that? It's gorgeous.
Oh, it's a tapestry because I do a lot of different podcasts and I, do a lot of different shows. Isn't this fun? You can send for this. It's a tapestry, and I put it in the back. And I've got this incredible projector. You could actually get them at Bed Bath & Beyond that put lights, moving stars in the background, and then you could even fill your whole place with these stars. So it's a lot of fun.
It kind of looks like what I would think Mark's blood would look like under a magnifying glass.
Well,
a microscope, yeah.
Well, it depends on what orb you're checking out. Hey, Mark, I got a funny story for you. A very funny story, and I'll make it quick. You know what, Mark? You know how you're not supposed to be seen in a car after sundown on weekends if you're pretty prim, right? And I had my relatives come in from Israel. And, of course, my mother completely panicked, and the bacon got sailed out of the freezer, and I came running out, and I gave it to a friend, right?
Well, hold on. Let me get this. So you had conservative, religiously conservative Jewish relatives from Israel, and your mother had bacon in the freezer. Yes. Okay, Tori, this sounds like this is going to end up being a routine that you're going to do. All right, Shirley.
Oh, my God, I'll never forget this. And she's like, literally, they're flying in every direction. Get them out of here. We can't let her see it. And, of course, I grabbed them, and I went over to her friend's house. God, you would have thought we were pregnant. We cooked the whole batch up. We ate it. It was crazy. But the thing that was funniest, when my relatives came in, my cousins, and, they wanted to go up to Estes Park, Colorado, and it was starting to get kind of dark, and so they wanted to get up before the sun went down. And, of course, I loaded them in my car, and I had a Vega, and, of course, everyone knows that Vega's the only thing you can do with them is turn them upside down and have them run by horses or something. And so they weren't very good cars. But I put them in the back. We got up to Estes Park. They were so happy. And it was about an hour and a half drive. And they said, we got to get back. They got a few things from shops. We have to get back. The sun's going to go down. Well, sure enough, as luck would have it, as I was driving, the car started to lunge. And
okay. Shirley, we're coming up on about 30 seconds. Can you wrap it up in 10 seconds or less?
Yes, I don't know how I managed to get them home because I was terrified. 1 block away after they got out, the car broke in pieces. That was my miracle.
It was a miracle. And we are talking about the miracle of Hanukkah, the phenomena of Hanukkah. And as Adam Sandler says, it's better than Christmas because we got 8 crazy nights. And I want to thank you, Shirley Bolstok, for being on the show. Check out her upcoming solstice event on vibingwithsusan.com. Corey Kotler, check out him on the internet. He's star of film, stage, screen, and
Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah, and I want to wish everybody out there a very safe and happy holiday season. I'm Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer, and I'll be back next week with Dr. Pat Basili on The Psychic and the Doc.
Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in to The Psychic and the Doc with Mark Anthony and me, Dr. Pat Basili, right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Hey, look, come back next week so we can explore with you more of life's many challenges and learn from fascinating guests. And you know what? Even Mark and me. We'll connect you and discover insights from people in this life and from the afterlife. Extraordinary problems? Yeah, they do. They require extraordinary solutions. But step into the world of possibilities with us on The Psychic and the Doc. That's every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com. That's TransformationTalkRadio.com. And don't forget, we're also live face-to-face on Facebook.com. Transformation Talk Radio.